8 reasons SJWs will never admit that they were wrong. Hey, it's Prince of Queens, and while there is a small minority of SJWs who will come to their senses occasionally and openly admit to seeing the errors of their ways, I'm guessing there will be a gigantic pool of them that will fight to the bitter end and just go ahead and drown in the icy water below their tragic sinking ship whenever it is entirely, finally, sunk. Why are they doing this? Here are 8 reasons. Number 1. Confirmation bias. Confirmation bias is what happens when people continue to believe whatever they already thought and search for signs that it is true, even if they often have to take leaps and bounds to continue the delusion. In the case of SJWs, their confirmation bias is so powerful that it will allow them to think that they were secretly right the entire time, despite the massive evidence to the contrary, and will instead just assume that everybody in the USA was racist misogynists all along if, say, Trump were to get elected. Instead of just admitting like a rational person that calling everybody who disagrees with them racist, misogynist bigots without actually engaging in a discussion about ideas simply isn't working, and maybe starting to admit that Hillary Clinton is an awful candidate that has carried out one of the most sincerely nightmarish campaigns of most people's lives, they'll just think, see, they were totally racist, misogynist bigots all along. That's why they voted for Trump. It doesn't matter that our nation elected a black guy twice and that women have more rights and representation in government than they ever have. I try to talk to these people and tell them, there is a distinct possibility that the people voting for Trump are doing it because they are sick to death of your foolish, racist, sexist ass who is projecting their own identity politic obsessed nonsense onto them. If some of them are racist, it isn't surprising as to why with people who act like you around. They just respond with, I have news for you. They were already racist. Like they popped out of the womb that way. Let's sigh. I guess that's what happens when people are told the inherently racist lie that they cannot be racist because of their skin color. Number 2. They'll block you and then say later it went down differently. This one, I can't say I have necessarily had a whole lot of payout in terms of knowing for certain that this prediction has come true in my life, but it is bound to happen eventually. You see, most SJWs and fourth wave feminists just go ahead and block everybody they disagree with. However, I do know that more and more people are starting to be deprogrammed from the gigantic social media and university-driven cult because I meet them frequently. Somewhere down the line, these people are mostly going to come to their senses and then realize it was all just a bunch of horse shit. But do you think they're going to unblock you and admit they were wrong the whole time and apologize? I'm guessing that's not going to happen. If anything, if you ever talk to these assholes again, they'll say some revisionist version of it all. Well, the SJWs definitely went too far, but the stuff that you said when we were friends was legitimately kind of racist, and that's why I blocked you. If that happens, you can tell them that I told them to eat a yeasty bag of vaginas. Number 3, they're getting paid to write about it, and their careers ride on it. You see, I've known several fourth wave feminist SJW types that actually have extensive blogging careers who have written some heinous stuff that is still out there. That said, when you not only wrote an article about how misandry isn't a thing, or white people cannot experience racism, and then went around defending yourself on Twitter and calling everybody misogynist neckbeards who disagreed with you, well, it's going to be hard to admit that you were wrong. These people have backed themselves into a corner because even if they know they are wrong at this point, they can't just go ahead and admit it because the internet would have a feeding frenzy on them. And the dismally small, triggered, happy audience they have left would turn on them like starving piranhas if they show any sign of weakness. I say, you reap what you fucking sow, and I hope you end up selling body-positive inspirational seminars on QVC, or whatever will be most embarrassing in your sad future. Number 4, They're legitimately just totally racist and sexist, like really, really bad. And fighting fire with fire is all they know. These are the people that the big SJWs and fourth wave feminists try to sort of pretend don't really exist, but are super easy to find in the comment section below their articles and videos. Plenty of fourth wave feminists openly hate men without any hesitation or regret. Sure, Kat Black might say she doesn't hate white people. I think the only real friend that she actually has is her white boyfriend. However, she does say that white people cannot experience racism. And it's plenty easy to find people in her comment threads talking about shit like the Nubians being superior to the cave-dwelling white devils or whatever. And I'm not really making that up. I'm fairly certain I saw that in her comment thread. Obviously, the person saying such things in the comments will never come to their senses and admit they were wrong, so yeah, don't even try. Number 5, the SJWs will slowly be deprogrammed, but they'll say they always agreed with you. This is the type of transformation that happens inch by inch, to the point where they'll not even really realize it actually was happening, and then by the time it does, these people will just say, well, I always agreed with you, but I thought you were just kind of extreme. It will be frustrating, but if they are nice people, just suck it up and continue being their friends. It's all you can do. I know this will happen because I think this has already happened to me a few times with SJWs. More so, it reminds me of how I was the first kid in my grade to stop listening to shitty pop music in the early 90s and change over to the alternative station. Of course, I was totally made fun of, but then some of the kids that literally made fun of me ended up wearing Nirvana shirts after Kurt Cobain killed himself. I called them on it and they were like, well, I always liked grunge music, but just didn't admit it, or whatever. Fuck yourself with your mother's dildo. Number 6, they are genuine cult leaders who make money off of maintaining cults. This one is hard to explain, and you'd have to have come across a few cults personally to really know how this works. I plan on making an entire video about the radical fairies being taken over and now held hostage by fourth wave intersectional feminist SJWs who actually make money off of holding events on the land that gay men paid for and maintained for decades, but it is a super long story for another video. Basically, the feminists came, they conquered, they forced out anybody who called them on their bullshit and called them misogynists, and now they hold festivals where they ask for donations from visitors, and the feminists collect probably most of the money or all of it. Once people are interested in the intersectional feminist cult after coming to a gathering, they do one of two things to them. They indoctrinate them into the cult of fourth wave humorless intersectional feminism where they have to constantly walk on eggshells, or 2, they ban people who don't conform enough. It is freaky and disgusting, and these women need to be stood up to. I plan to call the feminists who took over radical fairy spaces out by name when I have more subscribers, because I know a few of the worst, and I want to make sure they are exposed for the evil that they are. Number 7, they won't admit that they were wrong because they had surgeries or took hormones for a long time. Okay, this one is super sad to think about, but I honestly think it's kind of going to come true. I think that what is going to happen is that we are going to end up with a lot of trans trenders who somehow actually did end up getting their hands on hormones or talking to a doctor and getting that doctor to actually give them surgeries to remove their breasts, even though they didn't really even have gender dysphoria. I say this because I have encountered people online who claim that they are even going to get a full hysterectomy when they can afford it, simply because they are non-binary. Like, this is not even a trans guy, and I don't even know if they give hysterectomies to trans guys. If this non-binary special snowflake succeeds, what happens when the trend is over? I think it is going to be really sad for these people, and a lot of them will just cling desperately to the whole gender is a social construct idea because, well, they had their boobs chopped off and now they can't have children after the hysterectomy. So what else do they got? Number 8, they are married to an SJW. Case closed. All right. Can you think of any more reasons why the SJWs will cling so hard to this nonsense, or did I cover the bases pretty well? Leave it in the comments and drop me a like and stay tuned.